Hello, everyone. So don't be fooled. I am not going to sing. I promise you. But I'm super happy to be with you. Thank you, Daniel, as always, for the invitation. And you're watching Coco the Chameleon, which is our transformation mascot. We started with a butterfly, and then we moved to a chameleon, because a butterfly metamorphoses once in its life, whereas a chameleon is in a constant state of transformation. So we felt like this was appropriate and maybe just a little cool. So I have 33 years in this space. I am one of you. So of those 33, 30 were in supply chain. And I landed as the first Chief Transformation Officer for North America as we invested and drove a very important supply chain transformation during COVID, where we grew 2x the beauty market. And so this was in concert with, of course, all the functions across L'Oreal, but we did so because we had a head start. And that head start was rooted in data and data mining. And so we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So, and yes, we are gonna talk about AI, but we're gonna talk about it from the lens of a focus on people in particular, and process and tools. So it's really about this entire ecosystem that makes it work. So as I prepared for this, I thought I would begin with a reminder about Apollo 11. Now, of course, we know Apollo 11 as the mission that put a man on the moon. But do you realize that it was the largest collaboration in the history? Over 400,000 people, over 20,000 companies. This was all new insights for me. So technicians, engineers, universities, companies, all collaborating for this incredibly important mission. So this was the moonshot. And it's about the combination, sometimes maybe even the collision of people, process, and tools, but moving together in a bold aspiration. And I would dare suggest that AI and this moment is our moonshot. And so I wanted to talk to you about how we at L'Oreal are approaching this. So I am the first, but not the last. We now have Chief Transformation Officers in every zone. We have a global Chief Transformation Officer because there is a commitment and an appreciation of this being an important part of the success. So, a lot on AI. I think over the next couple days, I stopped counting after I got to 100 times I've heard the word AI in the past 24 hours. But I'm going to talk about the other side, because 85% of projects fail in AI, and 74% actually don't get out of the pilot phase. Why? Why do we think this is? We're all super excited, right? We're investing tremendous amount of dollars and brain power. And so our opportunity, perhaps not to turn this to 100%, because what I'm going to suggest is that there is no end point, right? This is an ongoing commitment to learning and to charting the future course, but we can do better than 15%. I hope you agree. So let's talk about it. So at L'Oreal, we are deeply invested in people. We are people-driven. I like to lovingly say we might even be a little allergic to process. But we prioritize speed. And this perception that AI is only about tech, I think, is part of the challenge of people, process, and tools, and part of the rationale for why only 85% of them fail. So part of AI is embedding it into your corporate culture, appreciating your strengths, as well as balancing it with the ambition of where you want to be. So for us, again, we are people-driven. So we first understood that we could not just show up with AI and expect our people to make it happen. Although that is our mantra. We find a way, we figure it out, and we make it happen. But AI, that's another animal. So in the midst of an incredible amount of transformation, to put a number on it, 70% of our organization has undergone some form of a transformation in the last 12 to 18 months. 70%, most of which are organization design changes as we embrace these new tools. All the while, I'm happy to share that we have 79% engagement scores. We have the highest enablement scores in the history of the company. Why do you think this is? How can this be? Actually, we are defying a lot of our consulting partners' data points, and I will dare suggest to you that this is because of the investment in people and process, and maybe a few tools, but importantly, powered by data. So our CEO has a quote that the future belongs to those willing to adapt and embrace change. We don't want the transformations to feel like they're happening or grappling on top of our people. In fact, because we are deeply committed to understanding consumers and insights across the entire value chain, our goal is, in fact, to not only know where the puck is going, but to perhaps even chart its course. So I want to pause here for a minute and share with you the story of how I landed in this job. And it started back in 2017, where we embarked upon a supply chain transformation. And I self-funded a small cohort, 4 people, and their goal was to challenge our strategy, was to mirror and walk beside the leadership team, and also mine the data that was driving our strategy. They came and shared with us that we were having an explosion of e-com growth. Now, an explosion meant less than 2%, moving to 9%. But that's almost 5x. And it was happening over a 9-month period. That is significant. And so I went and talked to the CEO, talked about the challenges of our distribution network, and if this was to continue, would we be in a position to support it? So do you think he jumped and gave me the funding? He said, Rahquel, this e-com thing, right? We're a retail business. Again, it was still less than 10%, so it was not big enough to draw the attention of senior leadership. But boy, was it percolating. So we made a pivot, again, appreciating our culture, our strengths of who we are, and we had to self-fund it. And that's what we did. So we lined it up with our commitment to sustainability. And so I start with the video because it kind of gives you an overview of who we are as a company. And sustainability is one of our core investments and beliefs. So we set up a very strong cost-saving strategy, again, delivering important sustainability benefits and self-funding the investments that we needed to make in the distribution network. So that was the middle of 2018. So when COVID showed up and we achieved our 10-year ambition on e-com in 3 months, we had an 18-month head start. So we had already the infrastructure in place where we could press the gas and as well press the brakes and to allow us to make these shifts in response to what was happening and was happening at an incredible pace. This is beauty. The average life cycle of our products is less than 2 years. So agility and speed are tremendously important. So these is why when we think about the importance of being able to adapt and change, but do so in understanding your corporate culture. As Daniel mentioned, we have a history together at P&G, very process-oriented, a fantastic training ground. But what works in that business model does not work in my world, again, where we are lovingly allergic to process. So let's talk about the people side of change. And the important piece is about the best of tech and the best of humans coming together. So we have invested in change management and organization design as a specialization inside of the transformation function. Now, this is not revolutionary, but it's new and it's intentional. So we have a curriculum, we have resourcing, we have a value realization. We have brought in stage gate planning, where we are introducing a level of operational excellence into programmatics. Again, this is not rocket science, but it's about the intentionality of managing the entire value chain and prioritizing our people-first DNA. This is who we are. In addition, from a change management perspective, we have trained the entire executive team on their role in change. Now, can you imagine us being allergic to process? And we've now created a curriculum on change. I would dare say it was a bit painful. However, it was fast because it started to bear fruit very quickly. And our success rate, so the numbers that I gave you were industry success rate. We are 2x that. So our return is greater than 40% on our programmatics. And again, the goal is not necessarily 100%, right? Because there is no final end state. But it is about creating an environment where you are investing in the DNA and in the appetite for change. The same on organization design. So as you think about OD, in my past, this has been a disruptive event, right? Every 3 to 5 years, you might bring in a contractor, you would reassess your strategy. It typically happens when what? When things aren't going well, right? When we just step back and reassess what's missing or what's broken in our operation or in our way of operating. So we have created, again, a curriculum on organization design and the mindset shift that this is an iterative part of being an effective operation. And this is not only for supply chain, but this is for marketing, this is for R&I, this is across the entire company. Because as we are really embracing experimentation and A&I, if we get this right, it's not only about augmenting people, but it's challenging ourselves to go faster, to go bigger, to be better. And if you're going to do that, then part of assessing the organization is a part of that winning formula. So the commitment on change is both structural, it's cultural, and the investment in the mindset and leadership engagement. This is from the top. I've quoted our CEO, but all of the presidents, they each have their own change mantra. So, and this is marketing, right? We are a marketing company. So that's connecting it to our DNA. So I ask you to think about, in your world, are you investing across all of the vectors? Are you investing as much in people as you are in the tools of AI? Do you understand the intersection of the people? Are they equipped? What is their appetite? What is the change metabolism? And do you have a technical right to succeed? These are intentional steps and investments in really elevating the power that AI has the right to bring to your business. Okay, so let's talk tech. It's time to talk tech, to talk about the AI. So in 2018, we made the decision to transition from being a beauty company into a beauty tech company. And this was with the appreciation that the future was rooted in technology, in data, and digital experiences. So we've built the richest beauty database that we dare say exists. I know I have some of our competitors in the audience, but we can talk about that. So with that, we have over 20 million people globally using our ModiFace tool. And so this is a virtual try-on. I hope there are some people perhaps in the room, that it allows you to appreciate which product to experiment and play. And our conversion on e-commerce has been 3x. Our operations teams are as invested in this data as the marketing teams, because there has to be a complementary agility strategy in our manufacturing and distribution approach. So all of this data is moving between and shared very openly between our marketing teams and operations. And part of the role of transformation is to create those lanes and make that visible and to identify the opportunities to take us forward and faster. We also have 16,000 terabytes of data. So this is about your skin and your hair. We can tell you the age of your skin as it relates to your own personal age in 5 minutes. Sometimes people want to do that, sometimes they don't. But still, right, as you start to connect this then to the feedstock and our work with suppliers, this end-to-end value proposition and having our operations teams as vested in growth and throughout the value chain has been a strategic competitive advantage without question for us. We have over 250,000 dermatologist annotations. So these are the notes and the insights that allow us to appreciate, again, skin health, not only on your facial skin, but on your scalp. And we're leveraging all of this data to provide personalized and customized solutions for our consumers. But again, the connection is with our operations teams. And so this is not siloed. We have really worked hard, and it's a continuous journey, but making this data transversal. And what is the operations role in planning and being 10 steps ahead? We got used to that advantage of being 18 to 24 months ahead. And we are the #1 beauty company in the world, and we have no intentions of letting go of that title. So these are just a few examples. We also have a partnership with NVIDIA, where we've joined forces as well with Microsoft, again, to allow us, when we start to look at packaging and our go-to-market strategy, to be able to leverage AI smartly. But this, again, in partnership with our suppliers, because if you have speed on the front end only and you can't convert it on the back end, then this is a challenge. The average life cycle is less than 2 years in the beauty industry. It's very emotional. And so it's a fun place to be if you're in supply chain. I'm going to say it like that. If you were here yesterday and you saw the picture of the boat that was stuck in the canal, we had product on that boat. It was a fun time. It's a fun time. So, as I was sharing, AI optimized supply chains. And what's interesting, I hesitated on, do I actually pull this out and make it separate? Because on the previous page, right, when I talked about all of the AI innovations and investments, our supply chain teams are hand in hand. So it's not a separate entity. However, in the name of operational excellence and mastery, of course, we are bringing in AI and robotics to allow us to streamline inventory and production planning and demand forecasting. In our supply chains, one of the things that's particularly interesting is vertical farming, how we're leveraging AI to help us produce in a very sustainable way some of the most exotic ingredients that in the past come on the side of a hill in a particular town in Africa that has a certain grade of soil. And so our ability to now replicate that is super powerful for the speed and efficacy of our products. The other exciting part from an AI perspective in operations is the speed at which you can get an employee up to productive activity in a manufacturing plant. That was one of the biggest pain points during COVID as we were all struggling with labor, how quickly you can take a new employee and get them up and productive. So AI, we're really leveraging AI in a big way to increase the speed and engagement of our operations teams. So it is embedded across all areas of the value chain. Operations and supply chain teams are hand in hand with our marketing teams, and then creating a transformation office allows you to hover above that entire ecosystem and really create the connective tissue. We believe the best of tech and the best of humans is where the magic lies. The last thing I want to also say on this piece is our operations teams are equally focused on growth and speed as much as they are committed to service and cost. That was a flip that we made, and we've made it, and it's a continuous journey. All the things that we're talking about it's an evolution. But that's been so important in that during COVID, again, another quick story. So the operations teams, we were all challenged, to say the least. Our scorecards were red. Meanwhile, the business was booming. We were growing like crazy. And so it was, how can this be that our scorecards are red? From a growth projection, those scorecards are fantastic. So we joined forces, and that was an important shift. So again, in the name of change management, but in value realization, that the operations teams play and celebrate as much about growth. And so then therefore their collaboration with customers, with retail partners, with consumers has been part of the AI journey and how we are embedding these insights into our strategies for agility. And no operations team is not focused on service and cost. I would not be an operator if I was not focused on service and cost. But it's about the entire value chain. So in our world, I cannot save enough money that would ever compensate for the value of selling a unit. So which is it? And how are you rewarding your teams? And when you think about the intentionality with which you are operating, are you managing and creating the space for entrepreneurship, for innovation, inside of your operations teams, alongside of their business partners? This was an intentional step on our part. It's not done. It's a continuous process. But making that space and having people whose role it is to challenge your strategy and identify new areas of growth, new vectors of growth, that less than 2% moving to 9%, we are now at more than 30% e-com as a contribution to our revenue. It is a fundamental asset. It is a key channel. And so what's next? And that came from the insights from the operation. So as we think about P&L reshaping and how we are then investing dollars inside of the operation to position it as a vector of growth, that collaboration and partnership we have pulled up to the table. not with a folding chair, but with a bottle of champagne. So, better outcomes for our consumers, for our business, for our employees. We are positioning the program excellence. We are launching them the same way with the same level of excellence as we would launch a product. Think about it. When you go to market for a new product, you have customer activations, consumer insights. There is a level of iterative assessments of the effectiveness of this program or of this product. This is what we're doing the same. So as we think about demand forecasting, as you think about customer engagements, this has been a game changer for us in this space of AI, but also as a beauty tech company and our commitment to technology and it being a lifeline of growth for the future. So again, I ask you, and I challenge you to think about in your space, how much is your organization carved out to spend time intentionally focusing on innovation? And how are you as a leader positioning yourself to be challenged? It is not about, is your current strategy right? It is about, are we driving for the future and the future of growth for the company? Growth is our obsession. And so better outcomes for our consumers, for our business, and for our employees is connected to fantastic growth. And I would say shareholders as well. So here are the proof points. So, of course, I've said it, we're the #1 beauty company in the world. We have the highest, we were rated in the top 1% of the most desirable companies in the world. This one was a big one. So this year in Fortune, we were named the most innovative company. Think about that. We're not an AI company, right? All the people that we're competing against. But the success rate and the connection of our AI and innovations to the success and growth of the company, we speak very boldly about that. We make investments about that. Our employees are invested in that. And so we are incredibly proud of that. All while 70% of the organization is undergoing transformation. I would tell you that I did not think that that was possible 5 years ago. But it is, and it can be, and it must be. Because when you think about the future, AI, there is no destination for AI. This is an ongoing, iterative learning expedition that we are forever on until the next revolution. And the piece that we are equally excited about is that we have the highest enablement scores in 10 years, and we are growing 1.3x the market. And this is a way in which we measure growth. It's always versus the market. And 1.3 is the minimum. As I mentioned to you, during COVID, we grew 2x the market. So these are the proof points. I will close where we started, which is about this being our launch pad. And like in the Apollo 11 example, it's not about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about assembling the right crew. It's about having investments in your training and building an environment of adaptation and resilience embedded in your way of operating as a company. So I challenge you to join us in building this infrastructure and a culture that is ready for launch. Thank you.
I think, can we take one question from the audience?
Sure.
So do we have one question for Rahquel? Rahquel, as usual, it was outstanding.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone for L'Oreal? And L'Oreal, I would tell you guys, they are rolling. They really are in their results.
Yes.
And, you know,
people.
it is fantastic. Any questions for Rahquel?
I think I'm still, oh, there we go. It's the enticing of the guitars. Okay. So here's the honest answer. After we drove such a pivotal supply chain transformation, the CEO came and he asked me and he said, Rahquel, I need your help. It's one thing to drive transformation when you are the head of the function. It's another to drive it from the center. So I said no twice because we're allergic to process. But in the end, of course, when the CEO asks you repeatedly to join him in a challenge and an opportunity for the company I was in. And so really, it was another moment, and Daniel can speak to a few. You know, you have those moments perhaps across your career where leadership asks you to do something that perhaps you did not appreciate or realize was part of your career path. So similar, when I started 15 years in purchasing, and then my move into supply chain, I spent the next 15 years in supply chain, but I was tapped on the shoulder at the time by the head of supply chain to say, come over here, we want to leverage you for this opportunity. So here we are, but it's been fantastic, I tell you. Bringing our supply chain way of being, you know, we approach problems, we are problem solvers, by the way, and the way we bring operational excellence into this space has been really, really powerful. And so I'm super excited about where we're going, and then to watch the company continue to invest in transformation holistically has been really exciting. I see, oh no, do we have time? I got 1 minute.
In regards to the roles, I read a survey about leaders saying that they're hiring today for roles that didn't exist a year ago.
Yeah.
So I believe that this is going to be a big part of the work that we need to do in the next couple of years. What recommendation do you have to start transitioning our workforce and reskill them to build these new roles for the future?
Yeah, you just said it, right? Do it. We really have to be open about the transformation journey and the commitment to learning that we have to embark on, right? So the challenge is to create the signals to you as a leader, as well as then and onboard your leadership team. So it's not a directive that's coming from up high, right? When the company and the employees are committed to growth, then it's the next step in part of the strategy that enables the company to continue to be successful. So it's really exciting when you have employees identifying these opportunities to replace themselves, right? Raising their hand. COVID was a huge area of challenge for both supply chain and HR. And our HR teams are also on this journey because the upskilling and the reskilling, it's an important part of what's going to make this successful, particularly for us because we augment our employees, right? We're not on a mission to replace, although there are some moments where that will come into play, but it's that combination.